Hello, my name is Richard Dunks with the Community Data Empowerment Project, and I'm here continuing our tour through the City of Dallas Open Data Portal's policing data sets of interest as part of our workshop session. So, a really important data set. We've talked about the police incidents, we've talked about the police arrests, we've looked at police arrest charges, we've also looked at the active calls. I'm here on the public safety data page, and another really important data set is use of force by the City of Dallas Police Department. The way to find that, so it's in here, and it's updated by year. And if the quickest way to find this data is you click the tag here, use of force. So this is listed as response to resistance. I'm going to take you through looking at these. They're broken down by year. Notice here they have 2016 citizens injured, officers injured. They have maps of the data sets. What we try and use with this program is the data sets itself. And we have a video that goes more into looking at the Open Data Portal and some of the differences between data sets and everything else. But the data sets are what we're focusing on. So we've got police response to resistance 2016, 2013, 2014, 2019, 2018, and 2017. So we have pretty good coverage of the data. I want us to look at the 2019 data. I'm going to talk about this data set. So the response to resistance is the application of the use of force. So again, we have the data set here. It has 2,944 rows, 39 columns. Again, like we saw with all the data sets except for police incidents and active calls, we don't have a description of the columns. So we're kind of left to figure this out for ourselves, unfortunately. So I'm going to take you to the data. And again, I'm going to caveat this by saying this data set, I've worked with a little bit, but it's still kind of trying to understand this. So the object ID is basically just a serial number for it. It's not a descriptive identifier. You see the zip code where it happened, the file number for it, for the use of force. So an incident involving a use of force can have actually multiple uses of force. So an officer can employ several different types of force in an incident. And you see that here by the number here. So in this case, this incident had two uses of force. And each has their own UFO number here. So 62295 and 63542. And you see it with some of these others. So most of these are going to be single uses of force. Others are going to be more often. And then you have the occurrence date, the occurrence time, current BA's badge. So the badge number for the officer involved. And again, we don't have the name of the officer in this case, but police incidents do have police officer names. We'll know information about the officer, their sex, their race, when they were hired, whether the officer was injured, their conditions, whether the officer was hospitalized, was the service a call, what type, basically the service type. So service call, arrest, call for cover, or null. The force type. So as far as I can understand with this, so in this case, notice we had the two, see if I can get both of these in here. So if you look over here, we have the two use of force numbers. So 62295, 63542. Notice in the force type, we have the same, BD tripped, BD grabbed. So in that case, 62295 should be BD tripped, and then BD grab should be the 63542. See with the comma there. I'm not sure exactly what BD is, or who that responds to. The use of force, what was the reason for it? It was the detention to frisk. Cycles, was it effective? And again, notice that there's two, a yes and a yes. So for each use of force, was it effective? Now, what effectiveness means, I'm not exactly sure. So we have then the address. This is different. We have the street all broken out. And then we have the address number. Citation, the citizen number. So this is the identifier for the citizen who was involved. Questionable here about this long number when everything else is 5 digits. This makes me think there's a mistake or there were two involved with it. Anyway, the citizen race, citizen sex, whether the citizen was injured or not, citizen condition type, a bite, no injuries, laceration, Was a citizen arrested? So this use of force, would it result in an arrest? Not sure what the citizen info A is. So was a citizen charged? No, there was no arrest. APOW is apprehension by a police officer without a warrant. So this is usually a social service referral. Someone who is has some kind of obvious mental health issue and is being arrested and to be taken into care for whatever reason related to social services provision. City council district, again, the reporting area, beat and sector, and the division relates to the location for the, this is the location, the administrative area for DPD. Then we do have an X and Y, and again, this is the state plane, which is great. I'll do a video about Texas state plane, and so you have a better idea of that. Then you also have the geolocation, a point. Again, so this is a latitude, longitude point. There are some geographic information systems that will take it into this format and be able to map it that you can use. So we do have locations with this, which is great for these incidents, but notice it's not for everyone. So in this case, we have X and Y, meaning we have a location in the Texas state plane, but not for latitude, longitude. So unfortunate. But this is going to allow us to look at the use of force. Now, here's the thing to understand. When working with this data, an officer will have two things. The number of incidents where they used force, and then they will have then the times types of use of force. So you may have an officer who has 5 incidents, and each incident only had 1 use of force. And no, some of these uses of force are canines or whatever else. But then you may have an officer, say, has 3 uses of force, incidents, but each of those incidents involves 5 uses of force. So in that case, while the first officer only had 5 uses of force, the second officer actually had 15. They had fewer incidents, but they actually had more uses of force in what they did. So it might be frisk, retain, some kind of joint lock or something like that, canine, whatever, taser, any of those kinds of things. So it's important to kind of look at both of those metrics to understand an officer's behavior. So is there an officer who is involved in a lot of uses of force? So if we can look at the arrests and say officer affected X number of arrests, and then by looking at this, we can see, well, Y number of these add use of force. So you can understand a percentage of force applied to an arrest. And then for each time they use force, what are they actually doing? And looking at the 2017 data, you saw some trends, whereas most officers only had 1. So the officers who they were outliers, tended to have, on average, 3 uses of force when there was a use of force applied incident that occurred. Another thing I want to point out about this, there is almost no way to link this back to the incident data or the arrest data. We don't have the incident number, we don't have the arrest number. And I'll notice some of these don't even result in an arrest. So we don't even have that information. What we can do, and this is where it gets really challenging, is we know the occurrence, time, and location. And then we also have the badge number of the officer involved. So what we can do is look back at the data from the police arrests, and we can identify, okay, around this time frame, this officer was involved with this arrest, and then link it that way, and that'll get us the incident. It's not perfect because, again, not all these are leading to arrests. And so the other option is to go look at the incidents. We can do the same kind of fuzzy match and see, oh, this officer's wrapped in this incident. But then we have the issue of, okay, well, the use of force time may be different. So we're looking at a date and a rough time frame with this officer, in this area. So we can kind of match off of the reporting districts, reporting area, beats, and things like that in here. And the address as well. So we have some things we can try and associate it with, but we don't have a firm match with those identifiers. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope this information is helpful, and we look forward to having you join us as part of the Community Data Empowerment Project.